His rise to the top, from finance manager at Carlton Football Club to general manager at the Australian Cricket Board and then to the summit of the sport, was steep and largely unexpected, even for the man himself. He was 36 years old. Little was the former Victorian Shield seamer and Melbourne University Cricket Club coach to know he would preside for more than 17 years and oversee the greatest period of change in the code's history. Australian Cricket Board Chairman Denis Rogers shakes hands with newly appointed CEO James Sutherland in 2001. Photo, Colin Murty. Source, News Corp Australia. He leaves cricket in better shape than when he found it, but this legacy has been tested significantly, especially in recent times. Cape Town's ball tampering fiasco was not directly his fault, be the fact Sutherland was unable to rein in players who continually headbutted the line both on and off the field is a stain on his time at the top. Rightly or wrongly, the buck stopped with him. More pertinently, the bitter pay dispute that led to an embarrassing player strike last July was a Cricket Australia own goal of World Cup final proportions. Sutherland eventually got his nose in the trough, but it took too long. The game was badly damaged and reputations at Jolimont were smeared. Relationships within the system are still recovering, including those with players. Sutherland got the job done, but it took too long. Despite these two train crashes over the past 12 months, cricket is in a better position now than it was 17 years ago. In 2001, Cricket Australia had a revenue surplus of $50 million per year. That has increased to $500 million per year. 7 West Media CEO Tim Warner, Sutherland and Fox Sports CEO Patrick Delaney. AAP Image, Joel Carrot. Source, AAPI. In 2001, there were 430,000 people playing cricket nationwide. Today the figure is more like 1.4 million and growing annually. In 2001, attendance for the entire summer was 989,000 fans. In the Ashes summer just gone, it rose above 2.3 million. Cricket remains Australia's favourite summer sport. A pastime which was predominantly limited to one-day internationals and tests at the elite level but is now engulfed by a T20 craze very few would have predicted. Herein lies Sutherland's greatest triumph, the bold formation, implementation and proliferation of the men's and women's Big Bash leagues. Just months before the first ball of BBL01 was bowled, there were serious doubts whether the tournament would go ahead at all. Pundits were lining up to criticize the initiative as Mickey Mouse and secondary to the nation's test ambitions. Channel 9 Entertainment CEO David Gingle, Sutherland in 10 Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director, Hamish McLennan in 2013. Source, News Limited. But in the space of 7 seasons, the BBL sits behind just the Indian Premier League as the world's most watched T20 extravaganza. Chris Lynn is a millionaire and sporting celebrity not because of any feats he's achieved for Australia, but because of the coverage domestic T20 cricket has been afforded across January and February. It's opened the door for women to play on primetime television and fattened the wallet of those who thoroughly deserve it. January used to be a fanatics month for Australian Open tennis and one-day international cricket. Now the tennis remains, while one-dayers are becoming more marginalised by the season. But trumping both, at least in the hearts and minds of young Aussies, is the BBL. It's a beast that Sutherland fed from infancy when nobody else would. Sutherland has resigned as Chief Executive Officer of Cricket Australia. Photo by Scott Barber, Getty Images. Source, Getty Images. The advent of day-night test cricket is another big tick for Sutherland. Its implementation was not dissimilar from the BBL start. Players were anxious, while opposition teams were, and remained, nervous. But Sutherland pushed ahead regardless. It didn't matter whether the pink ball had a black or green seam, or whether the Adelaide Oval pitch was too juicy or dusty, the CEO drove the agenda with a velvet sledgehammer behind closed doors. Half a decade later, cricket fans love the radical day-night format more than any other. Television audiences and crowds prove it. Sutherland was on to a winner. In among the wins and losses, Sutherland has been super professional. A chartered accountant by trade, he's far more Waylon Smithers than Troy McClure. Unlike other mainstream sports CEOs around the globe, you get the sense he would be happy never to do a press conference again. It's not his shtick. In the public eye, he was at times awkward and stumbling, but always considered. Behind closed doors, those who have negotiated with him say he was highly intelligent and direct, without being forceful. A press conference to announce Brett Lee's retirement from Test cricket. Lee is flanked by then Australian captain Ricky Ponting and Sutherland. Source: News Limited. Probably to the detriment of his public persona, Sutherland never wasted words. If there was something to be said, he would say it cleanly and concisely. Hungry media packs and fans yearned for a boisterous personality and headline-grabbing talker. Sutherland was neither, meaning his best work was often done around a table with manila folders and PowerPoint presentations rather than in front of the cameras. Awaking in the early hours of Sunday, March 25 to the news that South African broadcasters had caught Cameron Bancroft shoving sandpaper down his pants, Sutherland faced the tensest press conference of his tenure. The vibe between journalists and Sutherland was so frosty it saw two reporters physically clash. Some 20 minutes earlier he marched out of Cricket Australia's Jolimont offices with the look of a man who was acutely aware this would be a defining moment for his legacy. His voice trembled a touch, but he said what he had to. The cricketing public was baying for blood, but he remained calm under fire. Like a parent, he appeared more disappointed than angry. Australian team Dr. Peter Bruckner, Australian cricket captain Michael Clarke and Sutherland speak at a press conference following Philip Hughes' passing. Source: News Corp Australia. Father of three talented sportspeople, of whom two are already in the elite system, Sutherland's position as CEO precedes parenthood. Will, Annabelle and Tom Sutherland are all teenagers and know nothing other than their father as the most important figure in Australian cricket. His wife Heidi is an accomplished sports administrator in her own right and is a director at AFL Victoria. Friends of Sutherland speak of his fierce loyalty and dry humor. He's aware of his place in the scheme of things but will not overstate it. Ultimately, Sutherland's legacy still has 12 months to play out. He will be hoping the upcoming period will see the game's reputation at least partially restored, but with a new coach, captain and vice-captain finding their feet, on-field success is by no means a given. Trevor Hans and Sutherland announced that Steve Waugh will no longer be the captain of the Australian one-day cricket team in 2002. Source: News Limited. If his tenure finished today, Sutherland would receive a tick for his services, but not without an asterisk or two. On Wednesday, at the venue where he played the first of his 4 Sheffield Shield games, Sutherland conceded he has overseen an incident-rich environment, from Shane Warne's drugs saga in 2003 to Monkeygate in 2008, Phil Hughes' tragic death in 2014 and then the pay dispute in Cape Town. He's not wrong. His successor will have to pick up some pieces, but far fewer than if someone else had been at the helm.